This here is an old mountain story of the life of Mountain Joe, old mountain man of East Tennessee back in the early days of our pioneers. Now this story starts out like so many forgotten stories of our past, the pioneers that come into this country. This is a young couple, his parents, coming from Scotland. They was trying to get away from their troubled past, find a new land where they could raise a family the way they see fit. And they come into one of these ports in North Carolina. I think it was Wilmington, maybe not. But it was so hectic. Ships of all kinds coming in. Just a busy time for the country growing. And they worked their way inward looking for their own land. But they had to go on in because all the land was spoken for. But they was trying to work their way into the interior, into these mountains where he longed to be. And he could see the mountains in the distance, western part of North Carolina. That's where he longed to be. That's where he wanted to go. But he had to wait his time. But he helped out at a fur trading shop, helped clean furs and packing them and all that stuff. And he got to knowing some of the Native Americans coming in here, the Cherokee, and he got to notice that the merchant was cheating them. Well, he didn't think that was fair. They had equal rights like anybody else. So he got to be friends with them and warning them what was going on. And as time went on, the Cherokee learned to respect that, and they got to knowing each other pretty good. So they invited him to go what he wanted to do, is go into the interior. Well, they invited him and his wife to follow them back to the Cherokee countryside. So he gathered up his wife and his things, and he headed into the mountains. And going into these mountains wasn't no roads, just old paths, animal traces, Indian traces that they'd used for many a year. And he could get on top of these mountains, and he was at home. He could just see, the far as the eye could see, these mountains, unlimited country. So he thanked the Cherokee, and they told him where he could build and where he couldn't. So they hastily started building him a little cabin so they could start him a life. So the couple built him a little cabin like this starting out, and this is where old Joe was born. Don't know their last name. His name was Joseph, but they just called him Joe. And they was really tight with the Cherokee tribe that was not far away in these mountains. And they treated them as family. But they had to earn their trust. That's the only way friendship is formed and bonds is by trust. And that took time. Well, as time went on, this young country got into another war, War of 1812. And the Tennessee militia was called up to help fight the British down in Alabama that had formed with the Creek Indians. And this is where his father went, one of these skirmishes or one of these battles. But he didn't return. And word finally got back to the people that what happened, where he died. Well, his mom, she just give up. So she died. But he growed up, by that time, he growed up to be a man. And he learned a lot of things off of these mountains from his father, and he carried it on. This wild country, virgin forest, only seen by the Native Americans before he stepped foot in it. Such beauty, such vastness. God's creation. And the things he's seen, witnessed, traveling around these mountains, all of its beauty and all of its creation, and all the game of any kind. But he especially liked to hunt bear. Bear was the ultimate game for him, and he liked it. He loved hunting bear. And what he got for bear, he sold the furs. And he give the meat and the furs to the Cherokee too, to help the tribe, to show his appreciation. And one time, he's heading up an old trail, and his dogs had a bear cornered there. They startled, and the bear had one of the dogs down. Well, it was a rainy morning that morning, and he walked up there trying to get that bear off the dogs, and it was a misfire, wet powder. So he didn't want to get his dog killed. He pulled his knife and tried to get on that bear. Well, that bear swung around, and he swung around with that knife, and that bear hit him right behind the back shoulder. Took a big gash out of him. Well, he was bleeding bad. He got against a tree for a long time, just hold his back against a tree to stop the bleeding. And he got on his horse at his camp and headed towards the Indian village, the Cherokee, to help him. Well, he finally made it in there exhausted, lost so much blood, and he just collapsed. Next thing he woke up, there was the tribe's medicine woman standing over him. She'd sewed him up, trying to take care of him. Well, he was laid up for a few months. Slowly but surely, he got better. It's lucky he even made it in there. Well, he got to feeling a little bit better as time and months went on, and he started helping out around the village, what he could to earn his keep. And he got to meet his future wife, the medicine woman's niece. He didn't know it at the time, but she would show him so much stuff of this country. All the herbs, all the plants, what they look like, where they're at. And he knowed he'd seen them before, but he didn't know what they was. He wasn't taught that, but he learned. They learned how to dig this ginseng root, how to harvest it, how to cleanse it, how to make medicine out of it. And they only took what they need. And the medicine woman was so appreciative of him getting these herbs for her. And they taught him all about the American chestnut when they come in, all these nuts. Such a bounty back in them days. And they taught him how to fish, how they fish, where to fish. So much. And he taught them how they got honey, how to make the beehives. So they shared information back and forth. Wild mountain honey. His dad did show him that. Well, as time went on, he got closer and closer with her niece, and he asked the tribe leaders if he could have her hand in marriage. Well, by this time they earned his trust, and she wanted him, so they married. At first, they lived under a hole in the rock, what I've heard. Something like this. When they first got just to be to themselves, out of the weather. And he finally built a little cabin for her, and her family would come up and spend time with them. And they all lived happy. Everything was going good. He would furnish meat to the tribe furs, and he just started to have a family. He's still working on another cabin, a better one, a bigger one. But this took time. But he was still hunting when he could. So he went out hunting one time, and when he come back in a few days, his wife and son was running a real high fever when he got in that evening. But by morning, they were gone. So he buried them together in the old graveyard with his parents and the other old settlers that come through the area in the Cherokee tradition. Now old Mountain Joe, he was devastated. He didn't know what to do. So he just went back to what he wanted, being one with nature and hunting. But he never forgot his Cherokee family. He took care of them, hunted for them. He'd come in every few weeks, bring bear meat to them, whatever they needed. And just this went on for years. And just one day, he never came back. They don't know. They waited and waited. He never came back. They even sent braves out looking for him. Never could find no trace of him. No trace. But soon after that, the Trail of Tears happened. They rounded up all this Cherokee and many other tribes, and they sent them west to Oklahoma. Sad time in our history. But as far as old Mountain Joe, no traces ever found. Don't know what happened to him. So he's still out there somewhere. Well, I want to thank you for watching this video. God bless, and I'll see you next time.